Welcome back to Healthy, Happy, Wise, Wealthy. I have with us today someone who I have known, let's say, my entire life. So, because that's accurate. This is my cousin, Peter Harriman. So he is a leadership consultant coach right now, but he has been working at the top levels in the oil and gas industry for his whole career, and was leading things. And we're going to go into a little bit of what he did there living around the world. But I wanted to have him on because he has a lot of wisdom in terms of leadership, because he's been there. And in some ways, he's lived the American dream because he retired at 50 and now can do with the work that he wants to do when he wants to do it, which is in a way, that's the American dream, right?
Mhm.
Which I imagine
Exactly.
that's not necessarily what you set out to do.
No, I never imagined that things would go the way they did 30 years ago, but happy to share what I've learned along the way. And for sure, God's blessed me tremendously, no doubt about it. And I've been given some great opportunities and I've made the most of them, and very thankful for that. So I'm an extremely thankful person at this
Yeah,
stage of my life. Yes. hmm
yeah.
hmm
And a wonderful person too. So tell us a little bit about your work history. So to give listeners kind of a background on what you did all these years.
Sure. That's a great question, and that's one that many people ask me often, right? What's your work background, and did you have a career plan that you mapped out and that you followed? And to be honest, the answer is no. I didn't have a plan. When I finished high school, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to study something for 4 years and then not use it or not enjoy it. And I needed some time to just really explore and understand what the options were. And so there was a local community college nearby where I lived, and it offered a program that essentially trains people on how to become entry level technicians at a refinery or a power plant or a gas processing facility. And I took that course and completed it. And through that, I was able to get a job as an operator, a technician with Amoco in Southwest Wyoming, in the small town of Evanston, Wyoming. And went to work there and took what I had learned in school and learned a lot more there at that gas processing facility, a really big one. Worked with some great people and had a chance to really get a perspective on what engineering was like, because I had a chance to work with engineers at the facility. And it was the first opportunity that I had to really visualize and understand and picture what an engineer does. And I thought, I think I could do that.
Yeah.
And I could see myself doing that. And I saw the potential that it had, and I liked that potential. And so, uh, not long after my wife and I got married, we moved to Denver, Colorado, and I studied chemical engineering at Colorado School of Mines. It's a great school, and graduated and joined BP, British Petroleum. And Amoco and BP merged in 1999. And so essentially, I've worked with BP slash Amoco since January of 1994. And once I joined BP as an engineer, I worked various engineering positions, some in Wyoming. I had a chance to go work in Egypt and be based in Cairo, but work out in the Western Desert and help manage, improve, and rebuild facilities out in the Western Desert. That was quite an adventure, living in Egypt, which
Mhm.
my family and I really enjoyed. Then I had a chance to move to Houston and go work offshore in the Gulf of Mexico. That's what it was called at the time. I know
Yeah.
it's changed names here recently. It's hard for me to get used to the new name because
Yeah.
I worked in the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America for many years. But I worked as an engineer on a platform called Mad Dog. It's an offshore floating facility. I helped get it online. I helped get it commissioned, started up, and online. And it's an amazing feat of engineering, and it was a real privilege to be part of helping get that brand new facility started up.
Yeah.
And that took about 3 years of my career. And then I had a chance to move into an engineering team leader position with a team that was getting ready to start up another really, really big facility out in the Gulf of Mexico. In fact, it's the world's largest offshore floating production facility called
Wow.
Thunder Horse. And it's truly, truly a feat of engineering. And it was a tremendous privilege to be part of helping get that facility up and running online, and unforgettable. It was just an unforgettable experience being part of that. I worked there for about 3 years. And then my family and I moved to Baku, Azerbaijan. And I worked there as an engineering manager for about 3 of the 4 years that we lived there. The last year, I moved into an operations manager role, and I had accountability for 3 really large offshore fixed facilities in the Caspian Sea. So BP is in Azerbaijan, supporting the Azerbaijani government and helping develop the natural resources that are available, that are needing to be discovered and developed and processed there in Azerbaijan. So that was a fantastic experience to be part of that culture and just be part of that team and that whole work environment there in Azerbaijan for about 4 years. Then we moved back to Houston, and I worked as the operations manager for the Thunder Horse field in the Gulf of Mexico, and had accountability for all the activity that was taking place there. At the time, it was very, very busy. We had some major projects in progress, a lot of drilling activity in progress. And so it was good to get experience in a significantly high responsibility role, right, with a lot of accountability for people and budget and safety and regulatory compliance as well. So did that for about 3 years, and then we were very blessed to be able to move up to Alaska. And I worked in Anchorage and was an operations manager for Prudhoe Bay Field. And Alaska, without a doubt, is the greatest place in the world as far as a place to live. There's no better place. The scenery, the mountains, everything nature is just on a whole nother scale there. And so is Prudhoe Bay. It's an amazing feat of engineering that was first developed in the early 70s and is still going today. It's the largest oil field in the Western Hemisphere.
And in Alaska? It's in Alaska.
Yeah, that's Prudhoe Bay is way, way up north on the north coast of Alaska, right up against the Arctic Ocean. And it's it warms up a little bit in the summer and gets really, really cold in the winter. And I've been up there when it's 80 below zero, and
that's insane.
Want to stay inside. You just want to stay inside. Anyway, after that, we moved back to Houston. I worked as the operations director for BP for all of BP's upstream sector for about 2 years, and then transferred to Angola, where I was accountable for all of BP's operations in Angola. And in 2022 was part of helping form a new independent joint venture called Azul Energy, which essentially combined all of BP's assets and ENI's assets that they had also developed in Angola. So Eni is an Italy-based energy company, and they had done a lot of work to develop resources offshore in Angola, and BP and Eni made a decision to form an independent joint venture, which started up in 2022. And I worked as the COO for Azul Energy up until the point I retired in February of 2024. So that's a bit of a summary of my career. And
a little bit impressive.
Well, I've to do many, many different things. There's been a lot of variety in my career, and I've met just amazing people and just had endless wonderful experiences working with great teams and great people all over the world.
Yeah. And of course, since I've known you this whole time, I remember back when you graduated high school and,
Mhm.
our mothers talking, or however I heard about, Pete isn't going to college. And we didn't know, it's like, wow, he's not going to college. It's like, what is he doing? Well, he's not sure what he's going to do. And I feel like that in and of itself is something there's people out there that need to hear that, right? That, you don't have to know from the time you're in 5 years old or 10 years old, 18 years old, what you're going to do with your life. It might take a few steps, and you took a few steps and figured some stuff out, and then you started in on the career that really, you've spent the good part of your working years doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are people who have a plan and it's very well mapped out, and they do progress their career and their work life along that plan. But I would say that's a small minority of people. What I think is the key to success is just to make the most of every opportunity that you have here today, right now, and let that guide your interest, and let that guide what you're good at, right? What your strengths are and how you can continue to build those strengths and continue to um, uh, build those interests that you have. And typically that will lead to a place and a role and a career that can be quite rewarding. It'll open up more opportunities as you go forward. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like that reminds me of some life advice: when you don't know what to do the next obvious thing. Did you ever hear that growing up?
Yeah, yeah,
So
and it's actually really true. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very practical.
Mhm.
But and you said, what did you say? Take advantage of the opportunities that are right in front of you, because is that kind of what you'd said? I felt like that was really good and I wanted to highlight it.
Yeah, yeah. I think so many people they're desperate for a plan, um, and they want to map out a career that extends out 5, 10, 20 years into the future. But um, to me, the best way to proceed is just to take advantage, make the most of every task, every role that you have, every opportunity that you encounter, and I've I've often been asked, what does it take to be successful at work, or what does it take to be successful in your career? And I've got a few things that I've learned about what the answer is to that question, but that's one of them, is to make the most of every opportunity that you have today in your current
Yeah,
role, in your current situation. Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
Hmm.
And you have spent your whole life, at various points and a lot of points living abroad.
Hmm.
So I just want to have you tell a little bit about growing up, because you are fluent in Spanish,
Yes.
completely fluent in Spanish and English, and didn't even in your growing up years live the whole time in the United States. So tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So I was born in Bolivia, and the
I
reason
don't
I
think
was,
I knew that. I
you
don't
didn't
think I
know
knew
that?
you
Oh,
were
wow.
from Bolivia.
Okay.
But I was young then, so I probably
Yeah,
forgot that little note. No,
I think you were probably a year and a half old when I
I
was
probably
born.
was, yeah.
So yeah, my parents were working in Bolivia as missionaries when I was born, and when I was 6 months old, they transferred with their organization to Argentina,
Mm,
and so I grew up in Argentina, and it's a fantastic country. It's a fantastic culture, beautiful people in just so many ways. I was very, very blessed to be able to grow up in that environment, learn Spanish at the same time as English. We
yeah,
would speak English at home whenever we were together in the house. And then whenever I was outside running around with my friends, I just would speak Spanish. And so I didn't ever take any classes or anything. I just learned Spanish and English at the same time
yeah,
as a kid. And it just came natural. And thankfully, I've not forgotten it, especially the accent. That's the most important part. Uh,
the Spanish
you
accent.
can, your vocabulary can get a little bit rusty if you don't use Spanish for years on end. But what matters most is the accent. If
Is
you
that what
lose the accent,
matters
then that's the most critical thing.
most? I didn't know that. So now that's new information to me. The
Oh
accent.
yeah, yeah. Accent matters, especially in Latin America. You can know where someone is from almost instantly based on their accent. Yeah,
Yeah. So what do you think are the big culture differences between Argentina and the US from the years when you were there? I know
yeah.
it's the same answer, but you know.
That's a really good question. I think let's see. That's a really good question. So, in terms of values, I think people in Argentina do value family a
Hmm.
lot. So family means a lot. Family is tight knit. Um, I do think that in Argentina, people take more time to just enjoy time together, and they're maybe in less of a rush to be busy and get things done. So the culture may not be as hyper productive as we see here in the United States, but people may enjoy their day-to-day life maybe a little bit more just because of the fact that they do take some time to enjoy the smaller things in life or the conversations that you may have with the people that you know every day.
Yeah,
And it's a little bit slower pace, but it's a really interesting culture. A lot of European influence in Argentina, combined with a lot of the um, native, uh, native South American cultures. It combined in a really interesting way in Argentina. So
yeah,
it's a country of many cultures, and a lot of different traditions and foods. And but one thing that's for sure a top priority in Argentina is uh, football, and I'm talking soccer, right?
soccer, yeah.
You don't call it soccer there. It's football. That's
Hmm.
the real football according to people in Argentina, and it's on a whole nother level in terms of the fanaticism. On a whole nother level, it's as if you took the NBA, the NHL, the Major League Baseball, and NFL and college football here in the U.S. and combined it into one. When the national team plays, for example, in the World Cup, which is coming up next year,
Yeah,
uh, it is all in intense.
yeah.
Yes, yes,
And I think I remember you saying some of that. And when I lived in Atlanta, I went with a friend who is, grew up in Africa. So she I don't think she grew up watching soccer, but we went anyway, and that place was packed where we went. There was a huge line around the block, and
yeah,
it was for Atlanta. It was really, really cold out that time too. We had double winter coats on because we're not used to it. But waiting in line to get in to watch the World Cup. So
yeah,
you saw a little bit, and it was an international crowd there that
yeah,
was watching it. So it,
yeah.
it is not caught on yet in the United States. I mean, a little bit, but not like that.
Not quite, not
No.
quite. But yeah, I had the privilege of being in Argentina when they won the World Cup for the first time in 1978, and then also in 1986. And in both cases, the country just, for an entire week, just basically shut down to celebrate and, yeah, have big parades and big celebrations. And everything just stopped, and everyone was having a big party for an entire week, both
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
I just can't even, the productivity, what you're supposed to do in the United States. It just can't even imagine us shutting down for a week. We wouldn't even be enjoying it. We would be in a panic. you know. I
Yeah.
mean, some people would be enjoying it, but I think in general our culture doesn't allow that. So how old were you when you moved to the US then?
15 years old.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was to
So,
go to high school. Is that kind of the reason?
yeah, so where we lived, there was, um, an American certified school all the way up through eighth grade, but beyond that, there was not anything local. And so
Mm.
my parents were faced with the choice of either sending my brother and I off to boarding school in another country or staying together as a family and living in the US. And so I'm really thankful that they chose to stay together, keep us together as a family. And we moved to North Dakota, which is quite a contrast to Argentina. But that's where that's where Mom grew up, and where we had that was a familiar place, right? Because of family and times that we had been there
Mm,
visiting. Yeah,
yeah. And that's, most of the times I've seen you in life has been in North Dakota. It's
yeah,
definitely a sweet, most people have never been there, which is what you kind of
yeah,
realize in the United States. There's probably a very low population of people that have been to North Dakota, but it's beautiful and, you
yeah.
know, amazing, amazing memories and a home that's been in the family now. And now you own the home.
Mhm.
That's been in the family for how many years? Is it like 70 years? It's been in the family for 70 years, right?
Yeah. So our grandfather, he purchased the home in 1955. So yeah, that's 70 years now, isn't it? That's crazy.
Isn't
Yeah,
that crazy? I don't think there's probably too many people that can say that they've had a house in the family for 70 years. So
yeah,
I'm very thankful for that for sure.
yeah.
So do you think this time in your early life when you were, did the expat like experience and how that was formative, do you think that made it easier to say yes to these different roles and adapt
Oh,
easier with all the travel you did?
absolutely, absolutely. You know, one of the it was a tremendous gift to me to be able to grow up in another culture, right?
Hmm.
Um, and to learn two languages. But one of the ways that it was most beneficial is um, you had to learn how to relate to people that maybe didn't think the way you do, or have the same habits or same um, values as you do, or traditions, and
Yeah.
so it causes you to be open minded, right, to how to relate to people. And the other good thing about growing up overseas is, uh, for all my life, or most of my life growing up, I was a minority, right, as
Mhm.
opposed to a majority, and it caused me to get better and more capable in the space of getting to know people and relating and understanding and listening. And those are some things that really were tremendously valuable to me later when I worked in Egypt or Azerbaijan or Angola.
Yeah.
Just knowing that uh, just some basic things like listening well and respecting people, and uh, not treating people differently because of their job title or their family background or uh, their work history or personal history. Treating everyone with value and with respect, that goes a long way. That goes a
That
long way.
does. That
Yeah.
does.
Mhm.
I think the last couple guests that I've had on, we've literally touched on exactly these things you've said about how listening is
Mhm.
so key and being
Mhm.
respectful of people of different who aren't like you.
Yeah.
Different culture, different belief system,
Mhm.
different values, whatever it is. So,
Mhm.
that we can all be respectful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that's one of the things I've enjoyed the most about working in different places. Just learning how people tick, right? And what is it that motivates them? What is it that they value? And in the work environment, that's really important to know as a leader, right? Because that helps you communicate better. It helps you uh, bring people together in service of a plan. It helps you rally people together in service of solving problems or improving performance. Relating in a way that's genuine is extremely important. If you can't connect in a genuine way, it's going to be very hard to be successful as a leader, especially in an overseas environment where you're a foreigner, right? And
Yeah.
and maybe people, uh, their first instinct is not to trust you or fully open up, and and so if you can show yourself to be genuinely caring, it can go a long way toward making a difference and being an impactful, successful leader. Yeah.
I heard a story about you. I'm wondering if you remember this and can say more about it. But and this is through our moms talking, I'm sure again. But it was about how you were in charge of a group, and it might have been in the Gulf of Mexico in that time frame. I'm not even sure, but you were in charge of a group of guys. I think it was mostly guys who work out there, and everyone and came into the meeting, and they go around and you wanted them to say something that they did well that week, and they would talk about the things that they did wrong, and you said, let's start over again. You have to say what you did right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that, or is that accurate?
Well, that's something that I tried to do intentionally as a leader, right? I think communication really does matter a lot if you want to be a successful leader. And uh, one of the things I tried to do as a leader, not just in one-on-one conversations, but also in team meetings or in a big setting like a town hall meeting, is really celebrate success and recognize not just what people did, but more importantly, how they did it. Okay. And, there's many people who consistently, day in, day out, carry out their job really well. And in fact, they do it so well that it's silent running, right? They keep things running the way it should be. They follow process, they follow procedure, and they do it so well that it doesn't create a crisis. Often we celebrate people who come in and resolve a crisis. We celebrate firefighting. But what I've tried to do, and it's really impactful, is recognize people who are consistently doing work really well, delivering results, but not just describe what they do, highlight how they do it. Because when people hear that recognition of how you work, they tend to want to copy and paste that in their work style too. So I don't know if that links back to the exact example that you gave, but it's something I've tried to do intentionally. Yeah.
And I think what you just said is very brilliant, and I'm not even sure that I've ever heard anyone in the leadership space talk about that. I'm really not even sure a lot of managers or leaders in business in general get kind of training on how to speak to people. I just feel like that based on what I've seen and what you hear from people. It's not about being a bully, or is it?
No, it's not. And in fact, I have done everything I possibly can to not leverage my title. I've had roles where I've had a lot of seniority, a lot of delegation of authority, and if I had chosen to, I could have leveraged it and just told people what to do. But I intentionally never did that. Instead, I tried to focus on leveraging the power of a plan. And, that may sound a bit strange, but most situations that I've run into that are a mess or underperforming, or where a group of people is demotivated, or where business performance is below expectations, it is almost every single time the result of there being no clear plan that people know about and can relate to. And it's amazing how many times throughout my career I've come into these situations that are very poor, underperforming. People are demotivated. Morale is in the tank. And, the main reason why is because there's just no plan, right? Human beings like to rally around a clear plan that focuses on how to win, right? I don't care if you're in the military or in sports or in business. Human beings like to win, and they like being part of a team that wins. And so if a leader can describe what winning looks like and the path, the plan to get there, and can describe how each person on the team or each team in the organization contributes to that plan that will get us to a winning place, people come together, right? It's amazing what can happen when you do that as a leader. And that's probably one of the most leveraging things that's helped me be a successful leader in my career. And then, once you've defined the plan, you got to communicate it, right? Where are we, right? Where are we on this journey? What have we done? What's still remaining? What are the priorities going forward? and recognize people for the progress that's been made so far, and keep people informed. Keep people up to date on our status, right? And so I've made winning um, a big theme in how I communicate and how I try to lead an organization.
I
Winning
love
is a very, very motivating thing. And I don't care what culture you're in,
that.
um, everywhere in the world, people like to be part of a team that wins. And if you can describe that, people rally around it and morale goes up, performance goes up, and you end up getting the results that you're looking for. Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like everything you just said sounds so simple that I just want to make sure and if everyone listening realizes how revolutionary if but at least I feel like this is. And I honestly hope you write a book on it because I feel like this world needs it. But from what I heard you say, you define the plan. So if there's a low, you're coming into a situation that maybe you don't know if you're going to get respected just because of your title, but you're the leader.
Mhm.
You have to manage people and so you define the plan,
Mhm.
you find a way to make it actionable. I don't know if
Mhm.
you use that word.
Yeah.
And everyone on the team knows what their role is and how they can be a part of this. And then the plan is defined as how we win and how we win together as a team.
Yeah.
And then you call attention to people who are just doing a good job at their
Mhm.
job day in and day out. Maybe the steady Eddie kind of person that doesn't get recognized normally because they're just going about it quietly and not making a lot of noise or look at me. Is
Yeah.
that a good summary?
That's a really good summary. And you captured it really, really well. One other thing that is really important in that equation is um, I think many leaders overlook the fact that their job description is to make their team successful, to enable, to equip, to provide everything that their team needs to be successful, right?
Mm,
Your team is not in service of you being successful. Your team is not in service of serving you. Your job is to serve them. And obviously, if they win, you're going to win, right? If
yeah,
they're successful, you'll be successful. But um, that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. They get into a leadership role and they think it just entitles them to
be served.
mandate, yeah, and to use a mandate and to be served. And that's certainly not the case. I mean, if you want to be successful quickly and continuously, the way to do that is to look at every possible thing that your team needs to be successful and do everything you possibly can to equip them with what they need. If it's training, if it's tools, if it's materials, if it's whatever it is, be aware of what they need to be successful, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
visibly provide it. Because if they see you as someone who serves them in that way, they'll double down on their efforts even more, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's called that might be called servant leadership. I feel
Yeah.
like you've taken it, defined it, and maybe even taken it to a higher level.
Mhm.
I don't know that a lot of I've not I wish I would have seen more leaders who follow that. I've seen some,
Mhm.
certainly have seen some, but I think for the most part, leaders are a lot of them are maybe don't know how to do the skill set required of managing on top of the skill set they're required to do to get there in that role.
Mhm.
Or they're I mean maybe they're just feel a little entitled for whatever reason.
Mhm.
I want to take advantage of that, but it doesn't, or maybe they haven't learned the listening skills and to just, I think a lot of times maybe they just haven't been trained in exactly what it takes to lead people. So,
Well, what I've done from as far back as I can remember, I've intentionally observed leaders that I admire,
yeah.
and I try to copy and paste what I see them do, how they work, how they communicate. And so I've been very intentional about observing, right? Uh, it may be my boss, or it may be someone who's not, but I really enjoy, and I've always been intentional about observing how someone who's in a leadership position is effective and successful and engaging. But I've also observed how people are not. engaging and not successful with their team, right? And so it's good to observe those things and copy and paste the good stuff, the best of what they do, and apply it to how you lead, how you work, how you communicate, but also, observe how people lead poorly, make a note of that, and be sure to not copy that, right? And I think, I've learned that's probably where I've learned most of what I'm sharing with you now is just by observing people who are effective and people who are not, and trying to apply those learnings to how I work.
Yeah. And observing is a different form of listening, really, don't you think? Just like
It is.
you're looking at body language maybe, and
Mhm.
body language is very telling. It's a probably maybe even more important than what the words that come out.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I would say that that is just as valuable, if not more, than formal training. I think a lot of people think
Mhm.
that, hey, for me to grow as a leader, for me to be effective as a leader, I need more formal training. And to be honest, it's really good to have that, right? There is truly an endless array of books you can read about how to be an effective leader or how to be successful at work. There's a lot of great training. I went to MIT,
Yeah,
and I graduated from MIT's Sloan School of Management. Um, they had a program that was specific to BP called Operations Academy, and that was very, very useful to get that formal training and kind of see the reasons for how people think the way they do, how they tick the way they do, and what works, and understand the reasons why. Um,
yeah,
and that was useful. But to be honest, just observing leaders in action and copying and pasting the very best of what they did was probably one of the most effective things I've done.
yeah.
Yep.
And also just to kinda just for anyone listening, it's like you started out as someone you graduated high school and you weren't sure what you wanted to do, and you have MIT training, so let's just bring those 2 things together, you know?
Yeah.
And from what I'm hearing, you just took advantage of the opportunities in front of you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think many people are obsessed with being promoted and obsessed with moving up the ladder, and their career obsessed. And I think it's good to be motivated, right? I think it's good to want more. I think it's good to want to move into a position of higher responsibility. But uh, to me, it's an output versus an input. It's an output of how you work. It's an output of how you solve problems, right?
Yeah.
It's an output of delivering results, and um, and it's not the result of um, necessarily working harder. I think a lot of people think, well, I worked really hard, I tried really hard, but at the end of the day, all that really matters is results, right? So it's important to be a results driven person, a results delivering person,
Yeah.
and a problem solver. Uh,
Problem solver.
because
Yeah,
at the end of
and
the day,
also
that's
I
why
didn't.
we're all paid, right? That's why we're all paid. I don't care
Oh,
what
yeah,
industry
true.
you're in. I don't care um, what job you have. If you're getting paid to do something, you are getting paid to solve a problem or prevent a problem.
Yeah.
And so if you do that well, if you're a good problem solver, it'll go well with you. Yeah.
That's awesome. I was gonna say, I didn't mean to infer that just because you didn't go to college right away that you aren't highly intelligent. So you're highly intelligent, and you're a hard worker, and you know how to listen well to people, and observe body language, and talk to people who aren't like, have the same background as you are, and you took advantage of everything that was in front of you. So I think it's not one, it's kinda all those things. Yeah. So another question, how did you do this when you have, obviously, you're working for a very large corporation that, everyone's heard of. How do you manage what their company mandates coming to you are, this is what you have to solve
Mhm.
with, uh, the people that you have leadership over,
Mhm.
and getting them on board with that while kind of like still making sure that they're okay, that their needs are met? How do you balance the 2 of those?
Sure. Well, fortunately, I've never been in a situation where I've had to compromise anyone's safety in service of any business objective. I've never been in a situation where I've had to um, unreasonably ask people to allocate more time to work than is reasonable to expect. There are times where work does get intense, right? There are periods where, hey, we maybe have a big project that's coming to its culmination, and finishing well really matters, and it's going to take a lot of work. And folks, we're going to need to uh, for the next 2 months, we need everyone on deck, and
Hmm.
we can't be having people going off on extended vacations during this period of time next year, where we're going to have this really intense period of time. So I guess uh, is there a balance that needs to be struck in terms of the amount of time that an employee commits to work versus time with family? Absolutely, right? That matters a lot. I think the way to properly balance that is not to guess or go with a gut feel. I think the best way to manage that is through a really structured and well documented performance review process. Uh,
Okay.
so what I've seen work effectively and what I've leveraged effectively is, hey, at the beginning of the year, January, sit down with each member of my team that reports to me, and not only discuss but document what is expected. What are your business objectives for this year? And I would invest myself tremendously in that process, right? Because if we can define what is expected upfront and early,
Yeah.
the individual can then better manage their work-life balance to not only meet their personal priorities but also deliver on business priorities. And I like doing that early, like in January. Say, hey, here are the objectives that we have for the year. Here are your personal business objectives for the year, and then meet in the middle of the year and say, how's it going, right? And perhaps maybe there's one or more business objectives that are suffering because of a personal issue that they're attending to. Maybe their spouse is sick, or one of their kids is dealing with a crisis, or maybe one of their parents has cancer, and they're needing to allocate more time. Well, we can adjust, right? We can adjust, but having a starting point that sets expectations around what the business needs from an individual early in the year, it gives them the opportunity to allocate their time and allocate and balance out their own work-life balance and priorities, rather than me coming to them with short or no notice and say, hey, I need this, I need you to do this, and I need you to allocate all your time over the next 2 or 3 weeks to help with this crisis, right? And
Yeah.
are there crises? Are there important things that come up unexpected? Yes, but again, that goes back to having a good plan. If you have a good plan, you tend to have fewer crises that need that require people to prioritize work over home life balance.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and also, I sorry to interrupt you. I would say too, like crises that interrupt work-life balance. You are talking about an industry that is probably, if there's a crisis, it is a crisis. It is a massive crisis, and also one where, like, the work can be, by its nature, away from family for several months.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
think, if you're in an industry that, in other industries, it feels like that could transfer. Like you
Mhm.
could, instead of just changing the direction every other week, because it's and a lot of people do that. It's just like, oh, well, everything is changing so quickly.
Mhm.
Well, yes, it is. And also, not every other week it's not changing. So
Right.
you could still have a clear path forward with better communication, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
So I think the two things that can really help create a proactive versus a reactive work environment is having a plan
Yeah.
that's well defined and that people understand and can rally around, and then translating that plan into personal objectives. What are your personal objectives for the year that support this plan? And if people have those two things, most people are really good at balancing their work life priorities themselves, right? Without intervention or support. Yeah.
Yeah. But when it's just clearly defined and they know what's expected and
Mhm.
they can plan ahead for months and maybe a year in advance. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And of course, you are you know you've made sacrifices for your career, and you know
Mhm.
those are choices that you make,
Mhm.
and you can weigh one way or the other. But I know, you know, I imagine, and I know just from
Mhm.
different conversations with you that living abroad, you know, away from family that's in the States,
Mhm.
was stressful at
Mhm.
some points. Um, what do you? So you lived in several different countries, um, and Azerbaijan was actually the first one. Time when you lived there, when you moved to Azerbaijan, it was the first time I'd heard of that country, and it took me forever to say the name of it. So now I can say it, Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
But I'd just love to hear a little bit about these countries. Like what was it like living in Azerbaijan, for example?
Sure. Well, Azerbaijan is a
I didn't say it right. I
well.
said,
You were really close. I wasn't going
I
to say
was,
anything.
wow. And
Yeah.
then you said it right. Okay. We'll go with what you
So Azerbaijan's this small country that's just north of Iran, south of Russia, right on the Caspian Sea, and it used to be part of the Soviet Union until the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. And since then, it's become its own independent nation. And uh, I had the opportunity to live there for 4 years and get to know the people and the culture really well. It's a really pretty country, lots of mountains.
said.
It's fun to explore. Most people live in the capital city of Baku, and uh, it's a city that's been changing a lot. So when I first got there in 2008, it felt like I'd stepped back in time about 50 years. You get off the plane and it felt like we had gone back in time
Yeah.
50 years. But
Wow.
so much has changed there. And it was interesting while we lived there to see just the drastic and dramatic improvements that were taking place in the city. Um, and a lot of it had to do with the funding that was coming through from the oil production coming out of the Caspian Sea facilities. Um, and it was fun to just get to know that culture, right? And travel around the country. Uh,
Yeah.
it's a country that when I lived there had a lot of unseen, unrealized opportunities, like the big mountains, and it would snow in the winter, and I'd think, man, this would be great for a ski resort. And well, guess what? Now they have a ski resort.
Oh, that's cool.
And different areas where you think, man, this would be a great place to have a golf course. And well, now there's golf courses there, unlike when I lived there. But so
That's cool.
we really enjoyed living there. My family and I. My kids were in what was it, third and fourth grade when we moved there, or second and third grade when we moved there. So they made so many friends, not just with expat families, but a lot of Azerbaijani families as well.
Oh,
And so, I mean, I could go on for a long time about some of the stories of living and working there, but it's a really neat place. It's definitely worth visiting, and has a very unique culture. Yeah,
that's awesome. What language do they speak there? I don't even know.
Azerbaijani.
They do.
Azer-
They have their own language. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's similar to Turkish, but there's probably enough differences to be unique. What's interesting about Azerbaijan is every empire that has dominated the world has come through there, through that real estate at some point in time. So the Romans were there, the Babylonians were there, the Greeks were there, and they all left their mark. And um, the most recent empire was the Soviet Union, and it definitely left a mark
Oh,
on the culture for sure. It was very notable, very notable.
oh
Yeah.
no. I don't know if that would be good.
Well,
But
in,
maybe.
in some ways, it was really good. I mean, um, so let me give you an example. So here in the U.S., one of the things that we have is a very creative, kind of entrepreneurial culture, right?
Okay.
And it's one that where most of the time people don't like to follow a procedure, right? If you tell someone, hey, here's a procedure that you need to follow to carry out this scope of work. People's first reaction, most people's first reaction here in the U.S. is, yeah, I'll look at it, but I think I can figure it out, and I'll do it my way, right? I have a better way, right?
Yeah.
Um, Whereas in Azerbaijan, it's a very compliant culture, right? And I think it had a lot to do with the Soviet Union. You did what you were told, right? And if you were given a procedure, you follow the procedure. And in an industry that's hazardous, like the
Right.
oil and gas industry, following procedure matters, right? And
Right.
it's an expectation. You will follow procedure, and it's there for a reason. And so, from that standpoint, that culture has an advantage, right, compared to, say, a more creative culture like we have in the U.S. So when I worked in Azerbaijan, it was neat to see the mix of British kind of a procedural culture, uh, the Azerbaijani conformant culture, and the American, hey, there's a better way to do this. Let's be creative. Let's think of how we could do this better. It was a fantastic combination that worked really well, and I think as a result, that business has been very, very successful.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a really interesting answer. I love it.
Yeah.
And so in Europe, if someone was going to go to there, are they in, is more in Asia, or is it still part
Well, it's right in the middle, right?
of the
So if you
okay.
asked Azerbaijan what they would prefer, they would love to be part of the European Union, but that has not yet happened. But
Okay.
I think they have a much stronger tie with Europe than any other continent. Yeah,
Yeah, that seems to be what I remember, but I haven't looked at the map lately, and
yeah,
I have not visited. So,
yeah.
did you do some traveling through Europe? Is there like if someone was like, I want to go to that part of the world, have
Oh,
any recommendations for them?
yes, yes. Some of the highlights for me: Christmas in Germany.
Oh,
Christmas time. If you have a chance to go to Munich or to tour Austria at Christmas time, it
oh,
is a beautiful, unforgettable thing. They have Christmas markets everywhere, and it's just so well done. And so much history, so much tradition that we know of here in the U.S. goes back to those places,
right.
right?
Yeah.
So that was very fun. Also, um, I I visited Normandy in the west coast of France,
Okay.
and that is a life-changing experience to go and see firsthand what took place there on D-Day, and uh, the the heroic, unbelievable bravery that it required for that day to be successful for the Allies, and how many people sacrificed their lives. And that's on full display there, and it's very moving. It's very
Mhm.
moving, and it's something that I would highly recommend. Um, Also, Italy has so much to see there that's very historic. Of course, Rome, the Colosseum,
Mhm.
uh, the
Yeah.
Leaning Tower of Pisa. Um, it's just a fun place to go. I think one of the best ways to see Europe is by train. You know, it's far more convenient than renting a car. You can get anywhere on a train
Yeah.
and just walk where you need to go. And it's very, very friendly, very easy. It's very visitor friendly, and just endless things to see and do. Of course, we've been to England as well, and there's just so much history there to visit and experience in London, but also north of London, all the way up through the English countryside and up into Scotland. It's just beautiful. Most people don't think of England as they think of London and the big city, but my favorite part of England is the countryside. It's just unbelievably beautiful. It really is.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Great answer. And this is from Spain right here. I think
Ah, yes, good.
that's my big expat experience is living for 14 weeks in Spain in college. But
That's fun. That's a fun place. It's a
yeah,
beautiful place. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is. But yeah, for sure. And I think I traveled on so many trains in that 14 weeks. I don't know that I ever wanted to set foot on a train again, but it is like, it is just such a different, it's like you don't even realize that if you've only lived in the United States and not traveled outside of the United States, it really is quite a eye-opening, life-changing experience to go to a culture like in Europe where it's just you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
everything is, a new building is 350 years old, in some places. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible. You go to places like Egypt or Italy, and
mhm.
you add on another zero to the age of history there.
Oh,
I think here in the U.S., right, the oldest thing you could maybe go see and visit is the Alamo, maybe in San Antonio. That's maybe one of the oldest buildings in North America, and I think it's 400 years old or something like that. I mean, but if you go to Europe or even Egypt, you tack on another zero and more, and
that's crazy.
it's
Tell
amazing.
me about Egypt. I've not been there, and that I can't imagine how interesting that probably was
Yeah,
living there.
yeah, I would highly recommend for anyone watching this podcast or anyone listening, go visit Egypt. It is a super friendly place, and it is safe. It has this uh, there's this assumption that many people have that it's a high risk place to visit. It's not. It's not. It's very safe. People are super friendly, and if you want to see some of the best, nicest beaches in the world, Egypt has them on the Red Sea. Beautiful beaches. They have some of the best scuba diving that you can find in the world. Uh, in a place called Sharm el Sheikh. It's on the southern peninsula of the Sinai Peninsula.
Okay.
Um, and then the history is unbelievable. You can go on a Nile cruise and stop along the way to different historic sites, see Pharaoh's tombs, see these different temples that were built and are still in extremely great condition. And of course, the pyramids are basically engulfed by the city of Cairo, which I think I checked last time. It has 23 million people that live in Cairo. So it's a huge city, very, very crowded. And things that used to be on the edge of the city or outside the city are now just part of it, like the pyramids, right?
Yeah.
You see pictures of the pyramids and you think it's out in the middle of nowhere. Well, it's in Cairo, the city proper itself.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting. And so
So,
did you do some travel in that region that you thought was interesting and worth going to?
oh yeah, I mean, going down to Luxor. It's a city, a small city south of Cairo. Uh,
Okay.
you can easily fly in there, and that's where they have an unimaginable number of unbelievable historic temples and tombs you can go visit. Um, and I would highly recommend Luxor if you want to see history. Um, the Egyptian Museum in downtown Cairo is also mind blowing. They have so many different mummies that are on display, and just unbelievable artifacts from throughout history that are on display that you can just see up close.
Wow.
But I'd also definitely would go to some of the nice beaches on the Red Sea. Beautiful beaches. Yeah.
God, I love the beach, you gotta love it.
Yes.
You lived in Africa in a couple places, and then you lived in Alaska. So, Alaska is your favorite.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Why? Why and why should people go to Alaska? What should they see?
Nature in Alaska is on a completely different scale.
Okay.
The mountains are huge. The wildlife's huge. Um, Alaska makes you feel very small, and that does something good for me. I think it does something good for most people that go visit Alaska. You feel very small. Um, it also is called the last frontier, and it's true. Um, Alaska is so massive and relatively uninhabited, that if you want to go truly, truly out in the middle of nowhere, you can. And there's a lot of nowhere up there. And it's so big. I mean, you could take Texas, California, and Montana. It would all fit into Alaska with extra room left over.
Wow.
And I think Alaska only has, what, 600,000 people for its population. So I love I love nature there, and just so many different experiences you can enjoy. You know, going to see the bears, the moose, fishing, um, skiing, hiking, rafting. Um, if you like outdoors, it is the best. It's
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a lot of continents. I think I'm counting at least 4 continents you lived on.
yeah.
Is it 5?
Well, let's see: South America, North America, Africa, Asia. Technically, Azerbaijan's in Asia.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've lived and worked in 4. I've visited a few more.
Yeah.
But one place I haven't mentioned that I just think is spectacular is Cape Town, South Africa.
Okay.
Yes,
And you went there when you lived in Angola, because that's
yes.
nearby, right? Yeah. Okay.
So Cape Town's on the very, very southern tip of the continent of Africa. It's in the country of South Africa, and it is one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
Oh, wow.
It's so visitor friendly, and there's just so much to do there. And uh, any chance we had to go visit, we would. And I think an ideal living arrangement would be to live in Alaska from May to October, and then Cape Town from November to April.
And here you are in Ohio, so
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
the very, that's very, very, very American,
yeah,
right there in the Midwest. So,
yeah.
and I know you're having your adventures, and in retirement, you're not bored yet.
No, no, no.
Slowly.
I'm not bored at all, and I'm enjoying the coaching that I do. But the main reason I retired, the main driver was I wanted to be able to help take care of my parents, especially my dad. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in February of 2021,
Yeah.
and I was in Angola at the time, and the plan was to continue working there, indefinitely, or at least through the end of this year or even further. But I just couldn't continue to see his situation unfold, and I knew I couldn't live with myself if I hadn't stopped. I didn't want to continue to watch all this unfold long distance, 7 time zones away from the opposite side of the world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I wanted to be more available. I wanted to be more present, not just for him, but for mom. And she's doing a great job of caring for him, an excellent job of caring for him. But uh, there's things that just need to be done that I can help with. And it's really good to have that flexibility, right? To
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah.
And I have no regrets about that whatsoever. And I see them often. I also enjoy volunteering with Samaritan's Purse, and that's been one of the most rewarding things I've done in retirement. Going to places where there's been a crisis or a natural disaster, like North Carolina following the flooding, or Tampa, Florida following the hurricanes that they had there last fall. Um, I was also in northern Los Angeles earlier this year, helping
I didn't know that.
with the fire response, and helping homeowners try to recover items that were of personal value. And
Mhm.
just it's just really satisfying to come alongside people who've been through and just a completely unexpected, unbelievable crisis, and help them, right? And also to share the gospel with them, and share the love of God, and hope with them in their time of need. And it's just something that I've really enjoyed, and I'm
Yeah.
going to continue to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have carpenter skills because you learned that from your dad, right? You have
Yeah. Yeah.
a
He
lot
taught
of
me a
just kind of
lot.
skills.
I've put it to good use.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
And you have and you've always been as as a family member, I know just someone who's always looking out for people and willing to sacrifice, you know, for what is needed. So, and
yeah.
of course, not just I appreciate you for that. I think everyone does, you know.
Well, it's just a good thing to do, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. So it's certainly not a burden to me at all. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a fun time for me to, even though I know you, but I don't know you in respect for all the work that you do. I honestly hope you at least write one book on leadership. I really do.
that's a good challenge, and I
Mhm.
definitely have a lot of stories that can support the main themes that I would probably capture in a book. Uh,
Yeah.
many stories.
Yeah, and I think you have a way where you could present it without people feeling called out too much. And I think it could be, it would be probably well received and well respected, I imagine too. So,
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
yeah. Well, is there anything you want to kind of add or summarize I didn't ask a question on? Or
I can't think of anything. It's been really fun to be part of this and to have this conversation and to share, about different things that I've learned and that hopefully can be useful, right, to whoever might listen to this. Um, and yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. I appreciate you inviting me.
I really appreciate you too. And I really appreciate being able to share your wisdom with the world. Because we were talking before we hit record on this, and I said, is there a way for people to get a hold of you, or am I now your agent? Yes, you are now my agent. So, because the leadership coaching you do is a lot of referrals. You don't have your necessarily your website or marketing it or anything like that. So, unlike almost most of my guests, who are, I'm like, here's all the ways you can find, Peter Harriman on socials and go to his website, and it's you really are enjoying the things you're doing. And I'm so grateful that the world can hear some of this leadership wisdom from you. And I I love the thought of you sharing it formally in whatever way that comes. So
Great,
yeah,
great. No, that sounds good. And if you or anyone would like to get in touch with me, my email address is pdharriman@gmail.com.
perfect. You're gonna get an email. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna get so many emails. No, I'm kidding. We'll at least put out the email. So
Yeah.
thank you, Pete. I'm gonna call you Pete, and I appreciate you, love you, and thank you for all you do for the world, for the family. Um,
Thank you, Mary. I really appreciate this. It's been great to be part of this podcast, and I appreciate you inviting me. It's been
yeah,
fun.
yeah. Thanks. All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah.